So, David, first of all, I'd love to hear, what does the Internet of Things mean to you?
It's all about data sources and connecting those data sources. And really, the Internet of Things could be explained more appropriately to me by saying it's the connectivity of data sources and how you connect data sources to drive different ways of doing things.
I think the only thing I'd probably add is that for me it's connecting devices and sourcing data on a two-way basis. And those devices can effectively be assets, of course, whether it's a physical asset or a human one, it could be a member of staff.
Smart buildings and things like that have been around already for a while, and we're all capable of producing an awful lot of data. But I think, as Guy said, it's a people thing. So it's kind of, what do you do next, and how do you make things smarter and make things happen better and more spontaneously.
And more specifically in support services, David, what do you see as the opportunities for applying IoT within support services?
There's always been data sources in our business. Those data sources have been very traditional. They've been human people tapping in data. What's interesting now is the explosion of data sources and the changing dynamic of those data sources. Suddenly data is flowing on a minute by minute basis to you, and the explosion of data and what you can do with it, it really takes us into a completely different world. And when we're in that world, I think it's going to throw off different business models for our industry. Not having a planned maintenance schedule, but having one that reacts when an energy asset needs maintaining. Providing data back to our clients, which isn't about building, which is about their people, how they use their space, how they use their people, how we can support people and not buildings is a big talking point in our industry at the moment. And that in turn will be fed with new data sources. So everything's changing, and I think in the next 2 to 3 years we're going to see an explosion of different data sources, and we're going to see the industry wake up to the fact that it's going to do something different.
And with all this explosion of data you've described, is there a challenge in managing just the sheer volume that's being created and that will be created in the future?
Absolutely, and that's the interesting dynamic now, because in the old days we would have a guy poring over a spreadsheet to look at trends. When you're talking about hundreds and thousands and millions of pieces of data coming at you, you can't do that anymore. You have to have a computing tool that's powerful enough to analyse that data. More importantly, you need to have the intellectual capital of people that know how to create the algorithms and actually create methods of analysing that data, and that's something completely new to our industry.
As David says, you're going to need to attract a new type of person, data analysts, perhaps machine learning skills, artificial intelligence, to make sense of this huge growth in data which is going to be produced. And possibly naturally those sorts of skills won't be going to the sector. They need to be persuaded that is a good place for their skills. That's a challenge.
And is that holding off adoption at the moment? Is that skill question, is that slowing down companies from diving headfirst into this new world of data, do you think?
I suspect it is, and there's a question mark over the culture of the sector. I think, from my point of view, it's quite a traditional sector, based on long-term contracts, and it now needs to perhaps think a bit more in terms of higher risk investment in technology, investment in these types of people. And there's a question mark over short-term payback, which needs to be squared off with the long-term potential.
Data in FM is traditionally held in silos. So if you're a company like us, we have multi-service lines. You'll find the data is obviously held in the cleaning silo, in the engineering maintenance silo, in the landscaping silo, and the future will be about breaking down those silos and seeing what the impact upon data in one area has on another area. So data in all of those streams is starting to coalesce, converge.
By breaking down these silos, are there any concerns around privacy starting to bring this data together? Is privacy and security, are these questions that are going to become more important as we move into IoT?
Well, I mean, at the moment we collect data on behalf of our clients, and that data is always recognised as the client's data. So I think more of a concern now at the moment is around cyber security. We have access to large computing power that's at some point pushing up against our clients' data computing resources. Then there is an obvious unwillingness for the two to cross, particularly in the financial sector, as you'd expect. I hear I don't know if it's an anecdotal story of nuclear power station when the cleaner went in and put a data stick into a computer and started a meltdown. But those sort of cyber security questions will come to the fore more and more.
But we're talking about data from physical assets, of course, but sometimes potentially from staff, from people. So your point of privacy there, I think, becomes even more pertinent.
You mentioned energy efficiency earlier, and I'd love to hear a bit more about that in terms of making efficiency gains within your work.
Efficiency at the moment is driven around a planned maintenance cycle for an engineering asset. So you're only maintaining a engineering asset when you think the condition of it requires you to do so. What sensor technology in the future will do will make that more accurate, make that more real, and allow you to respond in almost real time to a need, whereas there's still an element of planning around condition-based maintenance. We've heard of ThyssenKrupp, the lift manufacturers now, when they produce a lift, they produce it with sensor technology that measure your weight, they measure how many floors you're going through, how many people are on every movement, and then the sensors will tell ThyssenKrupp when that lift actually needs servicing. So if you're doing that, deploying the resource when you need it, then you can be a lot more efficient and make savings for your clients.
And some of this data could, I assume, be helpful to the businesses as well that are using these devices, that are collecting data on the way their staff are moving around buildings for the future as well. I wonder if you've seen any other examples of big data being used in these interesting ways to make businesses more efficient.
But the potential seems clear, so you're right, whether it's the availability of mobile physical assets or staff, which is of course a big part of the asset base for support services. But no, I think the challenge is how they deal with all that data to make that efficiency gain, to make that optimization. I think that's for the upside. That's the part of the potential return for the investment that needs to be made.
Those sorts of models, Internet of Things, how you use data, is something that the FM world has got to start reacting to.
And what about the skills question? We touched on it earlier, but do you think there are enough people who have the skills to develop these IoT technologies and deploy them within businesses at the moment? Do we have the skilled workers we need for this new industry?
I suspect the answer today is no, and the industry is going to have to grow it. It's going to support people coming into those skill areas and wanting to go into the sector, as opposed to Silicon Valley or Silicon Roundabout, wherever it is. So no, it's again an investment that needs to be made, and incentives working.
Do you believe we can become a world leader in this field?
Yeah, I certainly think we can. We've got a good engineering history, obviously got a technology background. I think the challenge is more around getting enough of the skill to give us that leadership. In terms of intellectual capacity or IP, absolutely. See no reason why not.
I think we already are world leaders. If you look across the world, if you look in continental Europe, FM has really not got the momentum it has here, very much single services bias, and the States has a different model, very much property-led. To embrace the challenge around Internet of Things and how that creates new opportunities, new models, I think that's a challenge that we'll respond to because we are leaders. So yeah, I think we're in a good place.
I think the challenges we've been talking about for the last few minutes is you're asking businesses to just behave in a completely different way and invest in a different way, and actually from an institutional investment point of view, you're asking people to do something that really changed the profile of their earnings. That has been one of the sector's biggest attractions for the last 15 odd years. High recurring revenues, very, very good conversion of cash, and all those sorts of things have kept investors very, very happy. And so, as Guy said earlier, there's going to be sort of short-term pain because there's going to be investment, and investors and management teams are all going to be stretched by this, and they all have to be comfortable with it. So, but yeah, can we do it? Certainly.